what are some of the tips that you can give to your patients at home?
After a stressful day, that you do actually get to calm down, take time for yourself, take a dog for a walk, do some mindful thinking. There's other techniques like contract, relax. We contract all the muscles in our body and we completely relax. Find something that you like. Find something that you feel makes you calm.
How would you say that stress has actually impacted in your patients' lives?
Fatigue is the underlying reason.
I agree. If we have chronic stress, most of us have and we don't know we have it. Chronic stress is going to be small amounts of adrenaline and cortisol slowly released in our bodies in the background. So think of it like a car that's always idling. We're always going to have symptoms maybe of elevated blood pressure. Heart rate would be increased. Our risk for heart attacks and strokes are increased. We're going to have increased amounts of cortisol, which that has a whole lot of other adverse effects, such as increase in our glucose production, abdominal obesity. We're going to have high risk for hypertension, diabetes, and high cholesterol. Hello and welcome to OrthoSports' very first podcast. My name is Dr. Rochael Debideen, and we have Vanessa, our physiotherapist. And today we are here to give you a little introduction into OrthoSports, who we are, and to talk about stress. So OrthoSports is a multidisciplinary medical practice based in Business Bay. We have 8 different specialities, and we focus on health, wellness, and fitness. Today, we're going to be focusing on physiotherapy and family medicine.
I think we're going to try to discuss a few things around stress today, especially because we see it quite often in our patients and around Dubai. So yeah, I think that's what we're going to try do today. Dr. Rochael has joined us at OrthoSports in the last year. She's been qualified for over 10 years and she graduated with honours in obstetrics and has also qualified in mental health and aesthetic medicine. It's been a pleasure to work with her and yeah, she'll discuss the topic of stress with us today.
Of course, but before I do that, I have to introduce our lovely physiotherapist here today. So Vanessa has a background of sports medicine and she's then further went to qualify as a physiotherapist. She's actually worked at one of the largest and busiest trauma centers. Good luck to you. I don't know how you manage that. And I think that has really molded you into the amazing physiotherapist that you are today. Patients simply love you. So Vanessa, you've been in the UAE for like 10 years now.
Yeah.
And you see a large number of patients with all different spectrums of diseases. How would you say that stress has actually impacted in your patients' lives? Like, what are some of the common presenting symptoms that patients do come in with that could be stress related?
Oh, it's quite a broad spectrum, because often they are almost misdiagnosed as actual disease or maybe some disc disease or something like that, but actually stress is the main reason why they're flaring up. Some of these things that we see are it's neck pain, headaches, low back pain. Sometimes it is even arm, wrist kind of pain. Often it is fatigue. So they come in with aches and pains, but fatigue is the underlying reason, or they're very tired, and then all these aches and pains come as a result of that. So I think our major ones would be a neck and lower back pain, and which is then misdiagnosed, and we then have to figure it out with our patients to see that stress is our...
I agree. A lot of patients come to me as well as a general practitioner. We see everything. And patients often come in and they complain about headaches. They come in complaining of tiredness. And a lot of them have maybe skin rashes or flare-ups of their eczema or psoriasis. Hair loss is a very big one. And we find that a lot of patients would want to almost like put a Band-Aid on their problems, and they just think taking a multivitamin is going to fix everything. And they come to you really lost when they've tried everything and everything has failed. And then they come to you and say, look, I have these symptoms. And when you really take a history and you actually dig a little bit deeper and you take a thorough history, you find that stress is actually the underlying problem. And it's important to not just treat the symptom, but to treat the underlying cause.
And that's exactly it. We find that if we didn't do a thorough subjective assessment or assessment of the patient, we treat and there's no response. So where then stress management would be what we should be doing and what we should be looking at, and sometimes it's not so easy to treat.
I agree. So, Vanessa, if a patient had to come to you with maybe muscular spasms, neck pain, lower back pain, what are some of the physiotherapy techniques that you would use when a patient comes to visit you?
So all depends on patient to patient. It's very specific, but generally, if it is stress that is the underlying cause, it generally does not affect the joints. It could then mostly be the muscles. So it's all musculoskeletal. So we will then do a lot of techniques like massage, trigger point therapy. People can use dry needling. They can use cupping therapy. Sometimes people do feel quite relaxed, especially if it's headaches, tension headaches. Then we do work a little bit more on mobilizations of neck joints to try and relieve that. So then we look at things like that too. But mostly it is trying to create a relaxing feeling. The patient needs to feel relaxed when they walk out. Sometimes a physiotherapy technique can aggravate things, which we generally tell our patients, educate about. But for stress, your patient should walk out feeling relaxed.
Most of them do.
Yeah.
They always say they feel great after physiotherapy.
So, if stress is the underlying cause, it really depends on patient to patient what technique I would be using, and depending on if it is the lower back or neck. Heat therapy you can use as well, would be a good technique to use with some patients. Doctor, if you can just explain a little bit about how the body actually responds to stress.
Sure. So we can dig a little bit into the physiology of stress. So, in simple terms, when we perceive a stressful stimulus, that sends signals to our brain. Okay, so we have an area of our brain called the hypothalamus, and that think of it as the control center of our brain. So it's basically controlling everything through an autonomic nervous system. Our autonomic nervous system has two parts, our sympathetic or parasympathetic nervous system. So think of the sympathetic nervous system almost like pushing the accelerator on your car. It's what drives you to get across that stressful stimulus. Whereas your parasympathetic is almost like pressing the brakes of the car. It's what slows our body down to get it back to normality. So when we perceive something that's stressful, our brain, our hypothalamus is going to send a signal to our adrenal glands, which are basically situated on top of our kidneys, and it's going to release adrenaline. So, adrenaline is that fight and flight response. It's going to basically cause our heart rate to go up. It's going to cause our respiratory rate to increase. It's going to push up our blood pressure. It's going to dilate our arteries to shunt more blood to our organs. It's going to also dilate our bronchioles, so more air to our lungs. So this happens, and the second response is that we have a hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis, and this is when our hypothalamus is going to talk to our pituitary gland and say, look, let's just send signals to our adrenal gland to secrete cortisol. And cortisol is the driver that is now going to create all this energy or glucose to basically sustain this entire reaction. So if we have chronic stress, which most of us have and we don't know we have it, chronic stress is going to be small amounts of adrenaline and cortisol slowly released in our bodies in the background. So think of it like a car that's always idling. Okay. So if we have these stress hormones that are always present in our body, it's going to have consequences. We're always going to have symptoms maybe of elevated blood pressure. Our heart rate would be increased. Our risk for heart attacks and strokes are increased. We're going to have increased amounts of cortisol, which that has a whole lot of other adverse effects, such as increase in our glucose production. We're going to have abdominal obesity, okay, or central obesity. We're going to have muscle wasting. We're going to have high risk for hypertension, diabetes, and high cholesterol. So when I see patients, we may see them with prediabetes or diabetes or high cholesterol. And when you dig deep into the history, you find that maybe stress was just not well managed and is now driving all of these lifestyle illnesses. And I think you would also see a lot of musculoskeletal effects from people with obesity, right? So we often then see a lot of patients with obesity, and I'm sure that that also affects the musculoskeletal system. So you may also see a lot of people that have obesity and now they have musculoskeletal problems because of that.
Yes, we see it quite often. Often impacts the knees. It is our biggest problem to try and treat someone or to educate someone who is overweight. A word is really difficult. First of all, to change your lifestyle to make your pain go away is really, really difficult. So, yes, we see a lot of patients with knee pain, with lower back pain, increased posture changes, purely because of our weight distribution. Like I said, the stress often goes to our tummy, so we get bigger weight gain in our tummy. So then that often causes our lower back to have an increased lordosis, and we then get with that. So we get problems with disc degeneration. We get problems with purely because of our postures to get muscle spasm in our lower back. That predisposes you to a lot of things. So sciatica, getting nerve pain, things like that. But mostly I'd say what it impacts is our knees. To then get a patient to do anything active is really difficult. So a patient comes to me when it is that stage where the knees are chronically painful. We already see a very big impact from the weight gain, where we have our almost no more cartilage left in our knees. So for me to make a difference is really difficult in that. So often then we need to discuss things that are very hurtful to some patients. They don't like discussing these things.
No.
They don't like discussing their weight because they often don't find that it is a problem.
Yes.
So it's good that both of us can do this together in terms of you have that conversation, go see the physio. We need to help you get more active, help you do exercise that is slightly less painful to do, and that could help us eventually get to an outcome that we want. But we'll have to speak about nutrition, and that is a big thing with these patients as well, is speaking about nutrition. Yeah.
It all adds up. It's lifestyle changes. And if someone doesn't do any lifestyle changes, then we have to bear the consequences of that.
A lot of these patients, we start off with something quite gentle. We'll normally start with an exercise that is incorporated into their day. For example, often they'll tell me that their day consists of sitting on the couch watching TV. So my exercise is that every time you go to the loo that you do 10 sit to stands, right? Or that you then walk to and fro to the toilet twice before you go sit down. And every 10 days we increase it. We can't get a patient like that often into the gym because it's just too painful. So good techniques to exercise is also you want them slightly lighter, so you get them into a pool. So pool exercises are great for people.
So, Vanessa, how much of cardio is appropriate for a patient?
It depends on patient to patient once again, but for a patient with bilateral knee pain who is obese, I would probably start with 3 times a week, only 30 minutes. The goal is to get the heart rate up. A lot of times I would suggest walking, a brisk walk as a cardio exercise, but if my patient is not going to get the heart rate up, that's not ideal. So it's going to have to be something that gets the heart rate up 3 times a week, and we build it to 5 times a week, 30 minutes a day.
Okay. And I think a lot of times when you tell a patient that they need to do cardio, the misconception is, okay, I need to join a gym, or this is now something that's, I need to run. It's something so monotonous and it's now a task. But there's so many exciting ways that you can do cardio, know. Obviously, it depends from patient to patient. A person who's obese or has maybe knee problems, they would need to be more cautious. But for general health, I would say cardio can really be something exciting. I mean, if you're gonna swimming is a
Yeah, swimming
great
is
form of
fantastic.
cardio.
Yeah,
It's summer now, we can
yeah.
swim. What
And swimming doesn't always have to be a stroke. It can just be on the side of the pool and you're kicking, or you are walking up and down in the pool. That would get your heart rate to go up.
what about dancing, doing Zumba, so you can make it more social, right?
So great
Great.
form of.
So maybe one day a week, make it something exciting that's
That's
social.
it.
You can do some Zumba with your friends. You can even play sports.
Yes,
Okay, so
so there's loads of sports out here,
course.
and even during summer, there's great
Yes.
forms. It's great in Dubai. Everything's indoors, so
I agree.
yeah, you can go skiing in Ski Dubai, right? It could be anything.
Exactly. So you're doing cardio, but it's social
It's
as
social,
well.
yes.
What about taking your dog for a run in the
Great,
evenings?
great.
Going to the beach, walking or doing a run on the beach with your
That's
family.
fantastic. It's all great ideas
Yeah.
to get out there and just to be active.
Exactly.
So that's a great form of exercise for any person.
I agree.
But if we go back to a person who would come in who is obese and we struggle to get them out there. So starting slow, getting into the pool, yes, with family, with your grandkids, with anybody, right? Going for a walk at the beach, great idea. Yeah, fantastic idea. Going back to the nutrition, is there anything that you've noticed or that you know of that helps with stress relief?
Yes. I find that a lot of the times nutrition is a big part, like you've mentioned, and we are what we eat. And a lot of people don't realize that. When people are working long hours at the office, it's just quick, easy foods. It's basically sometimes even skipping meals, avoiding lunch, and it's that quick breakfast, running out of the door, rushing, in morning traffic, getting to work. You have a day full of appointments and targets to reach, and they often skip lunch. They are eating fast foods, and it's just poor dietary intake, and we see the consequences of that. We see a lot of nutritional deficiencies, so mineral vitamin deficiencies that patients come in with. And again, when you take a good history, you found out that their diet is actually the problem. So I think a balanced diet is extremely important, having the sufficient carbs and proteins and limited fats. But more importantly, yes, there are lots of stress relieving foods that we can actually have. So oatmeal is actually one of them. Oatmeal actually it actually helps to release serotonin, and that helps to create a sense of calmness. Chamomile tea, okay, always a good option. A lot of patients with headaches find relief by drinking chamomile tea. They even have a lot of sedative properties in them, so it helps to calm you, relax you, you have a better sleep, and even helps with muscle tension. I would say berries, a very good option. Berries are rich in antioxidants and vitamin C, so they actually help to bring down your blood pressure and your heart rate when it's spiked because of that adrenaline response. Fish, oily fish like tuna, salmon, high in omega 3, again, very good for cardiovascular health. Again, going back to the topic where we spoke about the stress response, and now we have an increase in our heart rates and blood pressure. You want foods that help to reduce your cardiovascular risk. Dark chocolate, okay, that's always a good option. Also, very, very good for cardiovascular health and rich in antioxidants. So
Does
those
that mean I can eat a whole slab?
no, obviously portion control is still very important. So those are just some of the foods that help to relieve stress. Okay, so I would say try and incorporate that in your diet, but people need proper nutritional advice. So seeing your doctor, getting proper advice is extremely important.
I've also noticed a lot of my patients are vitamin D deficient. How have you seen a lot of that? Why is it so common here in Dubai?
So extremely common in Dubai. We have about 80% of the people that live in the UAE with vitamin D deficiency, and a lot of reasons for that. Okay, it's a conservative dressing, it's the fact that we have an indoor lifestyle. Not many people spend a lot of time in the sun, even though Dubai has a lot of sun. Summer months are quite unbearable, but we're always in air-conditioned spaces, air-conditioned offices, air-conditioned cars, air-conditioned homes, and we are not actually getting the adequate sunlight exposure or absorption. So, for that reason, we have a lot of patients with vitamin D deficiency, and a lot of patients don't realize the importance of vitamin D, especially when it comes to our bone health, our musculoskeletal health, extremely important. If we have low vitamin D, it can accelerate osteoporosis, it can cause bone pain, it can accelerate weakness of our bones, it can cause weakness of our muscles, make us more prone to tendinopathies. So it's extremely important that we correct the vitamin D deficiency. And the only way you're going to know you have one is if you actually check your blood results. Okay, so blood testing for vitamin D, very important, so we can correct the deficiency.
And in terms of, I've seen with my patients, so if my patient comes in with stress, and then they also have an underlying vitamin D deficiency, it is even more difficult to actually get them to relax and be pain-free, purely because of the musculoskeletal impact the vitamin D deficiency has. So, yeah, I think it is quite a important thing to have that tested and just make sure that you keep up with it, you know.
I agree. Okay, Vanessa, so we don't have much time left, but what are some of the tips that you can give to your patients at home?
My tips are that we need to look at things that you need to do at home, just to make sure that after a stressful day that you do actually get to calm down, take time for yourself to take a dog for a walk, do some mindful thinking. But things that we do as physiotherapy, we do breathing techniques. So breathing nice deep breaths, making sure you use your diaphragm, just helps us to completely relax. There's other techniques like contract, relax. We contract all the muscles in our body and we completely relax. We can retract all our bodies and completely relax. But the most important thing is just to get out there and exercise. But for each individual, just find something that you like. Find something that you feel makes you calm and go do that. Find your thing. And that will, and if that is to come to physiotherapy and we help you find it, then that's it, you know. And for you, doctor, do you have any health tips for anybody?
Well, the same. I think making time for yourself is really important. Having that me time just to de-stress is extremely important to help you to relax and make everyday activities more exciting. You know, we all have to cook. We have to eat every day, so we have to cook. So why not try a new recipe that stimulates you? You know, it becomes more exciting. Play some music and sing whilst you're cooking. Again, it helps to de-stress you. We all have to shower every day. So once in a while, why not have a hot soak in a bathtub and have a bubble bath? Okay, light some aromatic candles, play some nice soft music. These are things that are guaranteed to help you relieve stress. I think also spending time with loved ones, also very important. And meditation. 10 minutes of meditation every day just to escape the world. It's just your mind, body, and soul unified, just focusing on your breathing and just escaping everything else. I think that's something really, really important. Meditation was actually proven to reduce your stress levels, to reduce your blood pressure, to reduce your heart rate. It's extremely important for your well-being. So that's maybe something that we can also incorporate in our lifestyle.
We want to just thank everybody for listening, and hope you have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.